Levi Shane.
Hi, Levi.
Justin.
Davenport calling from home.
Hi, Peter.
Hi. Is Nathan?
Sherry.
Okay, Levi, Justin, Peter, Sherry. David, are you on?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty.
Tractor in the middle of the field.
How about Steven?
I'm right here.
Well, we have one more Steven that we're waiting for.
Oh,
I'm here, Nathan.
Okay.
That's Stephen Marsh.
Yep, we got Steve Marsh on here and Stephen Hardy as well. It sounds like we're good to go. And 6:01, I'll go ahead and call this special meeting, May 26th, to order. So the reason for the special meeting was to have our public hearing for the CBDG grant application. I know I was going to let Steve kind of refresh everybody's mind, as well as he wanted to talk a little bit about the process for the COVID-19 and the public hearing as well. So, Steve, if you would go ahead, it's all yours.
sure.
Real quick, sorry, Nathan and Steve. Nathan, you need to open the hearing.
Yeah, Steve wanted to talk a little bit before he opened the hearing.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, just really quick. There was a little bit of a snafu with getting the public hearing notice published in the Davenport Times. And here, we got an email here at 4:42 today that they're going to allow us to submit, even though it didn't happen, but there's certain bullet points we have to do. But probably the biggest thing is we will need to hold another public hearing as soon as possible in June or July.
Okay.
But if that's the worst thing we have to do, that's fine. I don't see that.
Yeah, that should be no biggie. We can absolutely do another one at our regular meeting if that works for you and the timing's good.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
That's the way to do it. So we need to provide 2 weeks worth of notice, so I'll get working on that tomorrow, Nathan, just to get the ad in and jump through all the hoops.
Yeah, hopefully round 2 goes a little bit better.
Yes.
Okay.
With that, Nathan, you can open it.
Okay. 6:03, I'd like to open the public hearing. And Steve, I'd like to, if you're comfortable with it, I'd like to go ahead and have you kind of refresh the council and everybody and let you speak for a minute. Make sure everybody's up to par on what's going on.
You bet. So, big picture, what we're trying to do, or the city's trying to do, is find funding to develop what's called a water system plan, and that's very technical jargon for a Department of Health, Washington Department of Health approved manual for your water system. That's what we're trying to do. There are 3 funding pieces we're going for on this. One of them you already have. It's called the Public Works Trust Fund, or Public Works Board low interest loan for $34,300. This is the second piece we're going for. This will be a grant we're trying to get for $24,000. Then the third piece will be through USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, Rural Development. They have a thing called a search grant, and that'll be $30,000. So you add all those pieces up together, we'll fund your water system plan. Do you guys have questions so far? Because there's more here.
This is Peter Davenport, Stephen. What is the
Go ahead,
water
Peter.
What is the water system plan? What does it contain, and why is it necessary? Do we have to have one to do maintenance on our tank or water system?
You asked me several questions in that statement, Peter, so I'll try to take them one at a time.
Okay.
Your water system plan is a document that contains all the information about your water system. How many wells? What do they produce? What are the size of pumps? Your reservoir, what's its condition? How big is it? Your distribution system, what does it look like? What's the age of it? Then we come up with an asset, and we prioritize and look at the age and go, okay, according to this will be the first thing you need to replace. This will be your second. This will be your third. It'll look at your water rights. It'll look at one thing that we will want to take a look at is, does the city, and I don't want to discuss it now, want to consider annexing the golf course's water system and bringing it in, and so you'd accidentally take over their water system and you charge the golf course water fees for use of the water.
That's clear. Thank you, Stephen.
No problem. The other thing that it really does, and this is the most important thing, once you have an approved water system plan, it makes you eligible for Department of Health funding. Right now, the town is not eligible for Department of Health funding because they do not have an approved document. And to tell you how big a deal that is last year, the town of Oakdale, we ended up getting them one that was approved. We immediately applied for funding for water main replacement, and they ended up getting $2.68 million grant.
So it's pretty important, obviously.
Yes, there's a huge source of funding out there that, in this case, turned out to be free for the town of Oakdale. That once they got it approved, it opened up the vault doors, if you will. And that's probably the most important thing, because we'll identify improvements in the water system plan that need, prioritized improvements, and that's what we'll go for funding. Okay.
Another question, if I may. This is Peter Davenport again. Have you taken into consideration what effect the pandemic may have on funding sources? Do we have a handle on that at all?
As of this moment in time, no, nobody has a handle on it. I am going to go with the assumption that funding is going to move forward until I'm told it's not.
Okay,
so
thank you.
That's where I'm going to go with that.
Steve, this is Justin Slack. I had a question for you too.
Fire away.
So you mentioned currently the city does not have any water system plan in place. If that's the case, is this something relatively new, like the last decade or two, that the Department of Health has been encouraging cities to develop these, or how does that work?
They've been around for a while, at least a couple decades, and they encourage municipalities. You don't have to have one, but it just shuts the door on you for funding through their agency. Is their hammer?
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So, the reason we're having a public hearing regarding this is Community Development Block Grant. That's what CDBG stands for. Community Development Block Grant is HUD funds. It's federal funds. And with any federal fund, there's all sorts of strings attached to it. And one of the strings is you have to have a public hearing prior to submitting an application for funding to get community feedback on the application. So that's why we're here tonight, and that's why we'll do another one in June or July, probably July, because it's a requirement to put in an application. That's kind of my spiel. Do you guys have any questions?
This is Peter Davenport again. I have a question, but I'm not sure it's in order. It may be out of order, but I'll try it, and Nathan, if it sounds out of order relative to the agenda tonight's meeting, let me know. You mentioned something that piqued my interest. You mentioned the water system at the golf course, which is, as I'm sure everybody knows here, is independent of the city's water system. But in light of our new fire district relationship with our fire district in town, it might be very attractive to somebody looking at a CBDG grant. The fact that we have two water systems that are tied into one another for emergency application, particularly since we have oil and coal trains going through our town. It's just something I toss out. We might address it in the course of preparing a water system plan.
Yeah, I'd agree with you, Peter. I think we'll definitely give it a look and discuss that, but I think we'll wait till a different time to do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Well, thank you for speaking, Steve. I don't have any other questions at this point unless any of the council does, or at that point we could open questions or comments from the public.
David has none at this time.
Okay, thank you, David. Stephen, Levi, do you guys have anything?
No, I'm good. Yeah, I think I'm fine. I mean, all we're asking for is money to create a document, right?
Yeah, correct. And at this point, we're just in the application process of asking for that money.
So I guess I'll ask this just out of curiosity. I mean, because I think this will be kind of a short meeting if I understand it to be what I think it is. What objections would a person possibly have to this? Because, it's not going to be the town's money, and we're not looking to make any changes right now. We're just looking to produce a document. So from your experience, I understand that we're doing this because of the federal requirements to do it. So maybe there is no practical answer to this, but what kind of controversy does come out in these meetings?
I've been doing this for 20 years, and I have yet for anybody to say no.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought.
This is Peter Davenport. I'd like to correct an error. I'm a little embarrassed. I think I said CBDG. It should be CDBG.
We'll forgive you this time, Peter. I probably have done the same.
I'm embarrassed. I'm always correcting little errors in the documents the town generates, and I figured I'd better correct my own error this time.
Nope, no problem. Okay, do we have any other public input or questions or comments or concerns from anyone else on the phone? Okay, it doesn't sound like it. Steve, do you have anything else to add before we close the hearing?
Nope, we're good.
Okay, well, I appreciate you bringing everybody up to speed and refreshing our memories and answering the questions that you did.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, well, at 6:13, hearing no more questions or discussions, I would like to close the public hearing. And ask the council if they have anything else to add.
Nathan, this is Justin. Can we do two things? Is it our responsibility or was it Steve Marsh's responsibility to put the notice in the paper?
Yes, so that was our responsibility, that we have the documentation that got sent off to the paper, and we're still working with the newspaper company to see what happened and why it didn't get printed, but it is ultimately our responsibility.
Okay, so we saw. I mean, this week's paper. I mean, I guess there was 2 weeks it was supposed to be in the paper. So obviously, if we didn't see it the first time, probably should have called.
Yeah, absolutely. So
and say, hey, we didn't see it, but so.
yeah, nope, I agree. We need to check the first week that it's out. We realized that it wasn't being printed, and got in contact with Steve and tried to get in contact with the paper as well, and it's taken some time to do that. But going forward, we're absolutely going to have to make sure that happens, that it gets printed. So.
And then my second part of that then is, can we have we've, in other instances, when we've had public hearings, we've just had them attached to a regular council meeting. Is it possible to have the formal hearing again, or the second part of the hearing at the June council meeting?
Yeah, so it sounded like Steve said June or July, either one. I'd like to do it sooner than later. It sounds like, yes, that public hearing can be held at the council meeting. I'll check on it just to make sure, but.
Because we'll have to have 2 weeks notice for that then too, so.
Yes, yep, correct.
A suggestion, Nathan, this is Peter.
Yeah, go ahead, Peter.
Given the amount of importance I would place on those newspaper announcements, I think the city should request that the newspaper put a retraction in the paper, or an announcement might be a better statement, acknowledging their failure to print our legal notice.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. We're still working with the paper to see exactly what happened and where the miscommunication was. I know that it was sent off out of our office to them, but I will either myself or Janice will talk to them and see if that would be something they could do.
Okay.
And we sent the email to Steve Marsh and.
So, yep, and Steve has a copy of that email as well. So we have documentation, but we'll plan on doing another one just to cover us and go forward.
I have a quick
Nathan,
question.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Justin.
I was just going to say, so 2 weeks, so our next council meeting is 2 weeks from tomorrow, the 10th, so I don't know if it'll get out. Doesn't think it'll get out in time to have 2 weeks notice. So
Yeah.
we probably would have to wait then until July.
Yeah, I think that's probably with the timing. I think that's why he was suggesting the July meeting be the one that we do.
The other thing I noticed this last week was the Davenport, or the advertiser, it looked like was now starting to post legal notices. So maybe that's the paper that they're still local ownership, easy to get a hold of and whatnot. We maybe consider in the future starting to use them, since other municipalities are using them as well.
Yeah. Yep, I'll check into that as well. I know usually the city itself has somewhere in an ordinance or resolution or somewhere set that what entities they use to publish documents and stuff. So I'll check into that, see what we have on file, and make sure that we can get it out there in time.
If we can use the advertiser, the other benefit of that's worth noting is that it's freely available to everyone, whereas the paper is not. And when we had the discussion a while back about the rate utility increases, people were talking about where the notice was posted and all that kind of stuff. And so in the effort of being more transparent with our communications, it certainly would be a benefit to post in the advertiser if that's legally possible for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I'll check that out and see what we can do. So I do agree that's a good point that's available to everybody free.
The other question I had, and this takes us to a little bit different topic, but are we only waiting for Phase 3 declaration before we can meet in person, or is there additional requirements that are on us that before we can know whether we can meet in person again?
The short answer would be I think that we would want to wait till Phase 3 just to make sure everything's kosher and clear, but I need to read back through Phase 2 and everything, all the documentation and literature that's out to see that if we are able to meet still under Phase 2 or not. when we set this meeting,
Or around?
yeah, when we set this meeting, I wasn't sure that we'd be in phase 2 or even if there was a phase 2 at that point, and that's why we did this by phone conference. So.
Right. No. My answer is more that I'm the way I read it. It's pretty clear to me that phase 2 doesn't allow us to meet. But my question is that, and maybe Justin knows this from being on the meetings with the. I'm sorry that the acronym is escaping me, but the meetings that you were on last week, they were talking about what our requirements are for city council meetings. But do we have any additional stipulations that we have to comply with in addition to just whatever phase? Like, if we hear that we're in phase 3, can we assume that we're good to go?
This is Justin. I haven't heard anything to that yet. They're still trying to, every small city that because they're still trying to figure out how to get back to it, because they're trying to do regular business or business that's not just, I mean, there's several places that are struggling, so they've been doing Zoom meetings, but they haven't. Peter King from AWC did not have a date as of last week when I was on that small city council thing.
Okay. Well, the last thing I'll say then is just that depending on how many things that have been deemed non-essential that have accumulated on the backlog of topics that we need to discuss, we may want to at least entertain the concept of breaking it out into 2 meetings, because if it's a large backlog of number of months of things that we've been delaying, it may or may not behoove us to try and shove it all into the first meeting. So just, I would be willing if we need to meet twice in a month. But, I mean, maybe the backlog isn't that long and it's not warranted, but it's just, I think, a thought that's worth considering, just how much we're going to be biting off for our first in-person meeting.
No, absolutely. I'll be in touch with all the council members. I know that there's definitely some backlog. I don't know exactly how big it is at this point, but I'd definitely be in favor of meeting twice if we need to.
Can I revisit the newspaper issue, Nathan?
Yeah, go ahead, Peter.
But is there any embargo on our using 2 newspapers for posting legal notices? Is that allowed?
As far as I know, the only thing that I could even remotely think of that would come to mind would just be the cost. But other than that, no, I don't know that there's any other negatives that would come from that.
Then the importance.
Yeah, go ahead.
Given the importance of some of these legal notices and their effect on our budget and future projects, we might consider putting those notices in 2 newspapers, the Advertiser and the Davenport Times.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
Thank you.
Yep. David, did you have something?
Nathan? No,
yeah.
I was just going to say that I read somewhere in the past that I believe protocol on that is that it just has to be in a locally circulated paper.
Okay.
Now, I don't remember any. You could probably put as many as you want, just cost. But I think it just has to be a circulated local paper available to the public.
Right. I think I remember reading that too as well.
We do, though, Nathan. Like you said, we do have an ordinance somewhere that's the Davenport Times is the legal paper of record for the city of Harrington.
Okay.
Where we post it through there. We're not prohibited from posting elsewhere, but they have to. It also goes through the Davenport paper, and that might be something we change this year. We update that ordinance or revisit it, that resolution, whatever it is, to change it if we want to too. But
yeah,
there is a legal record, a legal paper of record that we use that somebody set a long time ago.
Yep. Okay.
So.
Well, I have a question. I get both Davenport Times and Odessa Record, and maybe somebody else online or somebody could clarify this, but there's a lot of crossover, duplicate information in both papers. I don't know how that happens, but it seems like
They have the same owner now.
Yes, exactly. So I don't know, but I agree with Stephen's earlier assumption there that, the advertiser is available to just about everybody. So if we get away with, the times, and if they duplicate it in the Odessa record, fine. If not, but the advertiser, I don't know anything about how much it costs, but that is one that people tend to stick around a little bit longer than the regular paper.
Yeah. Nope, I'll do a little research and see what we can find out on everything that we've talked about as far as advertising, and shoot you guys an email of what I find.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
You need a motion to adjourn?
I would love one.
So moved. Peter.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn by Peter and a second by Levi. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Levi says aye.
Okay, I think I heard everybody. All opposed? Alrighty, thank you, council, and you'll hear from me pretty shortly on the advertisement stuff, so thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, Nathan.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.